What's going on, guys? Paul here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you 10 Make.com tips that are begin friendly, that can save you a lot of time and a lot of headaches along the way. Now, I can guarantee you that by the end of this video you're going to be way more efficient in your work, so let's dive right in. So one of the most important things when we are automating is actually staying organized, especially if you have bigger projects. The way we do this is actually using folders. So if you go to the Scenarios tab, in here you can see that it's folders and there is a plus icon. You can add a folder. You can name it like content, whatever you want. You can name it here and click save. This is how you create a folder. Now, in this folder, you can actually create a scenario and save it automatically in it, or you can move other scenarios to that specific folder by clicking this button, move to folder, and selecting that specific folder. Please use this because it's very, very important to stay organized, guys, and believe me, it's going to save you a lot of headaches with actually finding the certain automation. So for the next tip, we're actually gonna see how we can select multiple modules at once. So of course you can select each module and move it like this, but it's not really aesthetic because you can't be really exact of where you can place that certain module. So to select multiple modules at once, you hold shift and drag over them. Now you can move them as a group. This can be also useful if you want to copy a certain part of your automation, or if you want to delete that certain string of modules. Now the third tip is actually about the scheduling setting. Now, if we go to the scheduling setting, this icon right here, you can run the scenario a variety of ways. First of all, that is the immediately way. Make sure that the module supports this mode because not every module can be run immediately. You can find this, for example, in Webhooks. What this means is, let's say a customer completes a form. Whenever that form is submitted, this automatically, automation instantly begins because it has that instant trigger and is connected to that form. After that, we can schedule it at regular intervals, whatever, in minutes, hours, or advanced scheduling. Once every day, days of the week, days of the month, specific dates, or on demand. This on demand one is whenever you click this run once button. And this is the scheduling setting. It can be really, really useful if you have certain types of automation, for example, just like I said with the form submitting one for an instant setting. Or if you want, let's say, each day at 8 a.m. an automation about content creation, each day at 8 a.m. you are actually running that automation in order for it to create you some content or whatever type. Now, the fourth tip is very important in my opinion, is how you can save this automation and why you should save it multiple times while creating it. You can do this by holding Ctrl and pressing the S key, so Ctrl plus S. You have to do this multiple times when you're building this because if for some reason your computer crashes or the Make.com website crashes, you might lose your work. Let's say you work for an hour, 2 hours, it's all gone. So when you remember, when you've done something that took a bit of time, please save it, Ctrl plus S, and you can actually see the previous versions that have been saved in this certain automation, and you can come back to them, which is really, really good in order for you to make iteration to it. The fifth tip is run this module only. Again, it can save you a lot of time and a lot of operations, so that means it can save you a lot of money too. It can be found by right-clicking on the certain module and clicking run this module only. Now, why can this save you a lot of time and money? First of all, if you have a long automation and you click run once every time, let's say you just want to check this certain module, the HTTP one, and you click run once. Maybe you have to wait 1-2 minutes so that the automation actually gets that certain module and you can see the result, which again, it's a lot of operations and a lot of time. Or you can actually do this one more way, but it's pretty dumb in my opinion, by copying the certain module, pasting it, and moving that first trigger to it and running this whole automation. But it's not practical at all. So it's way better to right click, run this module only, and it runs. And as a sixth tip, because I just showed you how to move the trigger, you can actually build multiple automations in the same page. So of course you can only run once, you can only run one automation in that page, but you can build multiple like variations. Let's say I have this automation and this one is like an extended branch that I want to add to the first one, but I just want to test it out first. You build it, you just move the trigger, and you can run once, you can actually play with it, so you have multiple automations in the same page. This is pretty useful in order for you to not create, again, a lot of scenarios, so that it's actually pretty difficult then to put them in multiple folders or stay organized, of course, which is pretty important. Now the next step is going to be about the router. Here we have a simple automation with a basic trigger, a set variable, which is variable name is value, variable value is true. So this should output, if we put here value, it should output true. Now let's run it once. And the output was true, of course. Here we have another variable, which sets the variable name value to false. So it changes from true to false. Now, it outputted here true because this is the first branch of the router. If we unlink this, now this is the first one, and relink it, this is the second one. So here it is going to output the result from this variable. So it's going to output false. Let's run it once. Now the output is false. Why is that? Because now the order has changed. This is going to be the first branch that is being played, and this is going to be the second one. So be very careful when you have a lot of branches and what the order of them is, because it might seem as an error, but it's not really an error, so you should look it out. A bit, because you might get some errors which you don't know why you get them, but it's just because the format is not correct, so be careful with that. Now let's talk a bit about syntax. Now, what is this? Let's say we have an automation and we have, like, let's say make a request. I use an API to get a lot of data from a certain page, and you have lots of arrays with lots of information, and it's pretty hard to find them. The way you find them is by using this syntax. So curly bracket, you say like the title of that certainly, let's say headers, curly bracket is black. It doesn't work. Why is that? Because you have to reference the number of the module. This module is number 1, so you have to do curly bracket 1 dot headers curly bracket, and now it works. And if you have a longer array and you want to choose a certain item from that certain array, you do this, 2 curly brackets. Let's say we have data like this array right here, dot, and you actually type, let's say, status. Don't forget to put the number of the module, because it was not going to work if I was going to close the brackets. Now I close the brackets and we get the status. This can actually work because if you have longer automations, you might not see certain modules that have been ran in previous actions. I don't know, it might be a bug. It happens to me, it might happen to you. So if you know that that certain module is like number 25, and you know how that certain array is named and what you're actually looking for in that array, you can reference it with this syntax, and you are going to get it. Now, this works for other operations too. Let's say we want to get these operators like plus, bigger, lower, equal, whatever. Again, 2 curly brackets, plus, for example, and close them. And you can do this again for, let's say, keywords like space. Again, 2 curly brackets, space, and close them. You can actually play out with it, try again a lot of these variables and see what works for you. The last step is going to be about APIs and how you can actually avoid 99.9% of the errors. Most of the time you're not going to get this error, but if you are using, let's say, APIs, let's say I'm actually using the ClickUp API, and I'm listing all the tasks from a certain folder in ClickUp, and then I'm getting a task. If you run this automation like 1,000 times, there might be a possibility that you can encounter one or maybe two errors. Why is that? Because either ClickUp, let's say it's getting slower, so this action is not being completed very fast, and this action is being activated faster than the first one is completed, and then it's going to get an error. How you can fix that is by actually putting a sleep module in between them. You can find this in tools and get here sleep. You only need like 2 seconds. I think it's enough because APIs are pretty fast, but this can actually alleviate 99.9% of the API errors that you can get. Of course, it's pretty unusual to get those errors, but you can encounter them, and this is the way you can prevent them actually, so it's even better for you. These were the 9 tips that I wanted to share with you. Hopefully you understood them. I'm not very good at explaining, but I did my best. Hope this helped. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.